Hello, everybody. It's been a while. We've got Dane back again to complete the trilogy. Probably going to be a quadrilogy, a quintilogy in the end. We'll see how he goes. He's always found the definite end of all his work ever until the week after when he gets another download from the universe. So, yeah, Dane has got something quite mysterious for us today in that I don't know what it is, but I love finding out. So this is the best place to do it. Dane's been doing this work from Australia for a good while now. I've just discovered on the southeast coast where it was very beautiful in the Congo. Why is it called the Congo where you live?
Nobody knows, actually. Yeah, but there's people that have tried to discover why it's called Congo, but nobody really knows. And I think I sort of discovered it, I think, myself about a year or two ago. But it's in the Congo in Africa was spelt with a K, and it was the Portuguese, I think it was the Portuguese that owned it, and they staked Congo with a K, and then the Pommies took over and changed it with a C. And it's the Dutch, and there's a bit of history with the Dutch early before Captain Cook. So anyway, I think it's something very old, but no one really knows.
Interesting. But anyway, Dane from that part of the world has been doing some research into this fantastic secret science that we're all digging up from the very ancient past. So I'm sure Dane's got some musical, mathematical, harmonic, planetary, juicy goodness for us. Are you going to give us a little clue? Can you summarize what you've got for us in a paragraph or a sentence or a word?
You pretty much summed it up. It's sort of just a follow on from what we've been talking about with the fretboard and the planets connected to the monochord sort of stuff and all the ancient stuff. Yeah.
So do you want to briefly go over that first for everybody, and then we'll go into what you are doing currently. Everybody, Dane's going to talk about the orbits of the planets, the Sidonic, the Sidonics. Is that a word? The Sidonics.
I think it's synodic, SYN. So synodic.
All right, there's two. Yeah, there's two different ones. They do two different things as well. So the synodic. Which one's synodic? Synodics, it's against something in the land, or is that a star? Which one's the land one?
It's against the backdrop of the stars, I believe. So it doesn't really matter where you pick. It's kind of basically wherever you are in the world. If you see Saturn and you line it up with a particular star, 378 days later it'll be back in that spot.
I think they often use Sirius because it's bright and shiny and obvious, and yeah. And I think the other one is that they measure it against something in the land. So, you often see the primordial mound as like two mounds, and then there's the sun in between. There's another way of measuring things, whenever that star comes between these two mountains kind of thing. Cool. So, do you want to take it away? Just give us a little recap of what you've spoke about before, and then we'll go on with it. I'm gonna blow you up on the screen.
Cool.
There we go.
Oh, yeah, very good. So yeah, the other episodes that we've done is basically to do with the fretboard. So it was last year, 23rd of August last year, that we'd been working on metrology, really. I was looking for the meter, I was looking into the meter and that whole discussion about is it old, is it new, is it, I think it was the 1500s that, was it the 15 or 1700s that the French were saying that they'd
1700s, yeah. It was like Napoleonic. Yeah. It's when they went to Egypt and brushed it off a bit and realized there was a big triangle under the sand there.
Yeah, and it's been a big sort of discussion between all the good metrologists, the well-known ones like John Neal and John Michel and all these other guys. I think Alexander Tom, is it, or Professor Tom?
Yeah.
And a bunch, just all the metrologists that have already published on all this sort of stuff, and also Howard Cohert as well, because he's been presenting the meter for quite a while. So I was just sort of looking to see if I could find, Melissa and others, if there's an equation or some sort of way that they relate to the feet, miles, inches, or if it's just a completely separate thing. So I was just curious about it, and then we've been looking at the harmonic series, which you know a lot about. All the 144s and all those numbers, 432 and all that. So there's already stacks of stuff on that, so it's sort of been a bit exhausted as far as there wasn't much else to sort of find there. And as far as to do with metrology anyway. And so then I just on the 23rd of August had this idea to check out the fretboard and to see if there was any, being a guitar tech in my early life and a guitar player, I thought, there's obviously be a ratio where the luthier is going to set the frets into the fretboard. I thought I'd do something simple, because they get smaller and smaller as they go down. So anyway, I saw a video on YouTube, and it just happened to be the first one that I pulled up. And it was, the guy just happened to pick 630 millimeter string length. And there's all different string lengths. You can get a ukulele size or a double bass or a violin. String length is, arbitrary as far as instruments. You can pick whatever you like. But this guy just picked 630 millimeters and 24 frets, which isn't as common. You can get guitars with 24 frets, but it's not super common. So he picked 24 frets and he had a 630 mil. And he basically had his computer programmed and it just popped it all out for him. So the equation was 1 divided by the square root of 2. Sorry, So 1 divided by the 12th root of 2, and it comes out at 0.944. So anyway, then all the numbers popped up on the screen, and I noticed the first one, it was 35.4 millimeters.
Yeah.
35.4, yeah, and then the second one was 68.7, and I was already sort of familiar with those numbers from, looking at planetary cycles, etc. So look, that's the moon, and that's Mars. And I immediately then got excited and thought, well, if there's anything in this, I'll just go straight down to the very last fret, 24th fret, and see if our friend Saturn's at the last one, because he's the boundary and he's the boundary guy. So I go to the 24th fret, and he's at the 24th fret. So you can measure this up here is fret 1, and that's the nut. And down the bottom is the bridge. And on the last fret, here's the bridge.
Yeah.
And so anyway, the measures go both ways. So from the nut, it was 472.5 millimeters down to the 24th fret, and it was 157.5 mil from the bridge. So I was, looking and I'm mucking around, and I went 24, the 24th fret times the 157.5.
Yeah.
And it came out at 378 or 3780. So I thought, there we have it. I'm onto something, because Saturn's synodic period is 378.
378, yeah.
So from there, basically everything's basically emerged from there. And I just sort of kept going with it. I just kept following only just the basic steps. They were kind of just already popping out at me,
Yeah.
So
once you had that realization, it was pretty much self-explanatory that it all just kind of came out of it. So with that, you discovered a link between the millimeter or the meter, the metric system, and the imperial system.
Yeah. And since our last chat, it's sort of there's sort of this one really quite simple and nice and neat little system that they all pop out. So we've got the meter, the inches, megalithic yards, feet, inches, miles. They're all there.
The megalithic yard is a weird one. I've seen that pop up encoded in like gematria and things like that, like unusual gematria, quite a few times, but often as the meter. Like, oh, Ryan, that's the megalithic yard in meters. I've heard that. I think once we looked at the gematria for Phoenix in Hebrew, it was something like that. And I'm like, what happens if I multiply this together? Oh, I get this number. And it was a very specific number. And then it was you and Melissa just said, yeah, that's the megalithic yard in meters. And I was like, what? Why? It seems not only is that megalithic yard still really important quite far into the future of its use, i.e. in the Iron Age, but that they are tying it to the meter. It just seems weird. Yeah.
And as you know, with Melissa and those guys are, there's like the Roman foot, there's just so many, you've got the Persian. I haven't, I'm not across all that sort of stuff. There's a lot going on there.
Yeah.
But I kept it real simple. Like my dad's a stonemason bricklayer, and his father was, and I'm a roofer. As a redhead, that was a dumb idea in Australia. But I haven't been doing that for a number of years now, but I did it for about 18 years. And so, yeah, we're sort of in the building trade, and I'm a muso, and Dad's a singer, and his dad was a singer, and one of the Scottish dads from Glasgow, who came out here when he was 7. So, yeah, like as far as building, you always round up, you're not using 5 decimal places,
No.
It's 5 points, whatever it is, 5.2, 5.3, and that's it, because you measure and tape, really, you can't get much more accurate.
I mean, the measures themselves have a thickness, so there's going to be, you can't get it right.
Yeah, and that's so. Yeah, for me, especially with the metrologist guys like John Neal and all these guys. They go into like 5, 6, 7, sometimes more decimal places. But my whole thinking is really simplistic, because it's I say now, well, what are you building? To the sort of calculated experts, I suppose. But I think, what are you guys building with that 6 decimal places? Because, I mean, you get your tape out, you're not really you can't visually see these tiny amounts. So going to the pyramids or Angkor Wat or any of these sites around the world, the builders, as we call them, I just had a feeling, just like an intuitive thing, that these guys were preserving something fundamental in reality that they stumbled upon, discovered, and they wanted to, immortalize for all and forever. And the Greeks or the Romans or whatever that came later, I just sort of bypassed all those guys. I don't know why really, but I just sort of wasn't interested in any of them. I sort of had a feeling that they were as clueless as we are. They were kind of like, I think it means this, or they're trying to do this. Like they kind of were stumbling around in the dark a bit as well, when they're looking at all these, pyramids or whatever. So I just wanted to get right back to what was the first inspiration? What did they notice and went, well, what this is incredible, and then it sort of developed from a very easy, simple seed. So I don't do square roots. I'm not clever enough to do any of that, really. I'm sort of
I think that the inherent laziness that you and I have makes us look for fundamentals.
Yeah.
Because the fundamentals, those actual building blocks, help you build the rest. So you only have to remember so much. Like when I see half the other guys on the Discord, if anyone wants to find the Discord, I'll put a link to the Jedi Academy in the header. But yeah, like you're as bad as they are, mate. There's pages of numbers, and it's like, do they expect me to be be a human and be able to understand this? I mean, you do. You get into it, and you're like, oh right, okay, it's like magic every time, basically, isn't it? It's like a magical poetry. But you guys you're amazing, really. It takes me 10 minutes to boot my brain up to do numbers like that.
Well, I'm only doing plus, minus, divided by times. I never do anything else.
Same here.
That's it.
And really, division and multiplication is pretty much the same thing as well, from the numbers perspective. Yeah.
And so, what I sort of had this sense of as far as these builders is that they were doing something. I mean, it's almost, we can't understand how they did lift these 90-ton blocks or 100-ton blocks or whatever. That's a mystery. But I think that whatever they were trying to immortalize and preserve, was
you're breaking up, mate.
Going to be accessible to all of them. Yeah. I'm back. There we go.
Right, sorry, just rewind yourself like 2 or 3 sentences. You broke up for a moment.
I sort of thought to myself, and again, I don't know why I think these things, but I just do, and I'm like, okay, they're trying to immortalise something, but it would be accessible to all of man, and it wouldn't be convoluted or complicated, because I had a sense that they knew that there would be nefarious buggers, and there would be some people that would confuse everything and make it complicated and convoluted. And so that the rest of the masses would just be like, oh, it's too much for me, and I don't understand this stuff. But my sense was that these ancient builders were trying to do something that where those guys would just, no matter how hard they tried, people like you and I, just average bears, could actually understand it, and it's accessible to all mankind. So it's like a Bible in stone, It's it's an even playing field. It's not hard. And as a builder's son and been on building sites, when I see like all those people on Discord and all the metrologist guys, and they've got like 800 divided by 801 or ping and all this stuff, I'm like, when you're on site, no one's doing any of this. Nobody cares. These guys have got a piece of string, a water level. It's very basic stuff. It's really simple. When you're on site building, all that's like an equation this long. If you're a stonemason, you're like, whack off. Would you just get that out, get it square, get it plumb? Oh no, we're going home. But so anyway, getting back to just sort of the basics of this. That's not going to work, is it? Well, you can't quite see that. It's the harmonic series. So maybe we'll edit that in later. But it's the all the numbers that we do, the 144, and it starts with the tonic of 1 hertz or 1, and you double and put the columns, and all the numbers that you work with, Ryan, that you're writing a book on.
Yeah.
All those numbers pop out. So the harmonic series is really simple. The C column, for example, is just all double: 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64. And then the G column is 3, 6, 12, 24, 48. The D column is 9, 18, 36, 72, 144.
Yeah.
As you go along, the top row is tripled, and as you go down, it's double. So,
why do you think that D column seems to be the most important column? By the way, I found out that mostly the last number in that sequence is noted, on that thing, and that's the speed of light. Near enough. It's like 2 miles off from being the speed of light in a vacuum. That's cool.
Yeah. The D column seems to be, I mean, they're all there. They're always popping out, all of them. But the D column is, you can find that the most everywhere. I mean, even the perimeter base of the Great Pyramid in meters is 9216, which is again in the D column.
Yeah.
Casing stones, there's 144,000 casing stones. That's the D column in 4/4.
Yeah. Yeah.
I showed a video I did with you a while ago from the Great Pyramid to the equator. It was, remember we went from the D column, it was 9 times so that's the first one, D, and the very last D. And we moved towards the center. So the second D and the second last D times them together, and we get this 331770. And I got that from Howard Kramer. So I was just watching his video, and I just wrote it. And I got that distance from him, but he didn't actually show what I showed in that last one, which is, so the number was 331770 kilometers, right?
Yeah.
33, And later on that day, I started mucking around with the D column and went, 9, that's the first one, and the very last, and times them together and got that number. And I moved to the centre, and the very centre D is 576, and 576 squared came out with the same 331770. So I was like, okay, we're onto something here, right? So they've positioned the Great Pyramid there, and the distance from the pyramid to the equator is this D column, it's this incredible, it's music. So it's not brilliant, it's the astronomy, arithmetic, harmony, and geometry. And so they're always together, and they never depart from each other. I've had sort of barneys online with people like that are well known, and we won't mention their names, but they've said, "What's music got to do with it?" And I've sort of like that sort of confused me a bit. I'm thinking, sort of got everything to do with it, because as we know, it's vibrating and it's all vibration and those kinds of things. So it's always involved with the planet's cycles or the Earth size. So, as you know, sacred geometry decoded is another legend.
Yeah.
He goes well, this is just the seed of life, but he'll draws the flower, and it's you draw the clock face. So you've got 1, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and it comes out with this perfect clock by just drawing the flower of life.
Yeah.
And it just so happens it works really nicely on Earth. And well, yeah, there's lots of silly debates, really, I think, because they're kind of very nitpicky a little bit. And 24 hours works beautiful. The Sumerians were doing 7 days a week, 24 hours, 60 seconds, 60 minutes. It's as old as you can sort of find in literature. So they clearly were onto it. And they say that the 7 planets were used for the 7 days. That's where they got it all from.
Yeah.
So putting all this together, the masters all said the universe is a monochord. It's a stringed instrument. So just with all these little sort of ideas and masters, I just sort of followed those little clues, those little breadcrumbs, and discovered, like I showed before, when I just got lucky that day with 630 mils of the Moon and Mars. Saturn was at the end. I realised Jupiter, he's at fret 19 because he's 19 times 210 millimeters was 399. That's the synodic period of Jupiter.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, they also tend to be falling onto the fretboard really nicely. So I'll just sort of rub that out there, and I'll show you what I've basically been working on since all that stuff. So you know that also that Saturn's time. I always ask astrologers and stuff, why is he time? Like why do you even need a planet that's the master of time? And, what's Saturn got to do with time? Nobody could tell me. Nobody bloody knows. I can't find it anywhere in the book or online. Just Saturn's time, and that's it. There's no reason, But I thought there surely would have been a reason. These ancients didn't do anything by just arbitrarily, They had a reason and a logical, practical reason for everything.
Definitely, yeah.
So, and then also around Sydney and a lot of the capital cities in the Western nations, Mecca, or the Jews wearing the cube on their head. And I think the cube's really big. So let's go with Saturn and why is the cube associated with Saturn. So it really comes back to the seed. It just really is. No wonder they call it the seed of life, because it really is. And now I'm understanding why it's the seed. So, for example, we'll start with how many minutes there are in 7 days. So there's 10,080 minutes in 7 days.
Yeah. Not a surprise there. Everybody, you'll notice, I mean, most of you guys will be advanced on here, but just notice most of these, not all these numbers, should add up to 9. And you always get 108s and 432s and 144s and all these kind of 216s.
That's right. Yeah, but 9's always kind of like, if it adds to 9, everything's fine.
Yeah.
Kind of
It just checks itself, doesn't it?
Yeah. And it is really religious. These things are like, I wasn't trying to find this. I was just interested in mythology and music, but at the end of the day, there's just no escaping that this is the most ancient religions all born and birthed out of natural phenomena that was observed and noticed, and everything came from there. The 9 muses and whatever, the 7 Anunnaki and whatever.
The Ennead, yeah.
Yeah. So when I've got this 7 days a week, that's the minutes, 10,080. And the other thing we know about the circle, right? So the circle with pi or tau, T-A-U, tau, 2 pi. Okay, we
Mhm.
just call it 2 pi for people, because everyone's so used to that. But it's sort of popularised with tau. So that's sort of like a law, isn't it? It's you can lay your radius around the circle and it goes around 6 times, or it almost gets to the end, but you've got a little bit left over. And it's 6.285, and it's 44/7, which just works out nicely. 44 divided by 7 is 6.285. These pens aren't working real good, but so I took the minutes in a week and I just times it by tau, or 2 pi, and it came out with 63360. And that's how many inches there are in a mile.
And that's how many what? Sorry.
That's how many inches there are in a mile.
Right.
So 63360 is inches
Mhm.
in 1 mile. And all we've done is taken the 7 days a week, we've times it by 2 pi, and we've got the inches in a mile. So I was, that's time and space are linked. Of course they are.
Yeah.
If you're a navigator and you're trying to navigate, travel across the world, your compass has got minutes and seconds and stuff these days, but time's important. So of course they're linked. It's a practical system of navigation, and you don't want to be getting lost. So all these, I'll just keep doing the rest of them, but that's the inches in a mile, and if we divide it by 12 now. When we go la 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 la, it's 12. We get 12 perfectly lovely steps. It's on a stringed instrument. It's nice and easy. You just play it, up to 12 frets.
Yep.
And when we sing it as well, it's been known for thousands of years. These are full half steps or full half tones, semitones.
Semitones. Yep.
Yep. So when we divide that by 12, we get the inches, that is, in a mile. We get 5280, and that's how many feet there are in a mile.
Is that a D?
No, that's not D. No, it's actually they call it the solfeggio, isn't it, or something? But it's anyway. Stephanie.
All right. Is it one of the solfeggio tones?
Yeah, but again, that's sort of a bit of a hoax, or that really, and she sort of discovered that, and others have too. But it's kind of we won't get into that because it's kind of a bit. It's more to do with metrology, really, and the Earth, because when you divide the equatorial diameter of Earth by 30, you get 528.
Right.
So that's inches and feet, and it's all just comes from 7 days in a week. We times it by tau or 2 pi, we get the inches. Divide that by 12, and we get the feet. So there we have one unit of measure.
So sorry, I have just a quick question on that solfeggio thing. So you think the solfeggio tones have been generated from metrology?
Yeah, I don't think they have anything to do with music at all. Yeah.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah. And Stephanie McPeak Peterson.
Yeah.
She's written a lot on this, and I think she's done a book recently, I think, on this, but she's done a fair bit of work on it. It's really all. But so we've got the inches and feet, and then I divided the 7 days a week, by what they call philosophical pitch or scientific pitch, which is just a note of C. I think it's the 7th C actually. So 500. Sorry, I always say that 256 hertz, which is
Right.
C. And we divide, which is just 16 squared. And 16 squared, 16 is really important. And we've got 16 from the new moon to waxing, waning back to new moon at 16. So it's an important number anyway, just in natural phenomena and with the moon cycle, which you're going to see at the 24th fret later. And it's Saturn, the Saturn moon matrix. You hear about it from David Icke and all sorts of people.
Yeah.
Saturn moon matrix. Well, yeah, it's all this stuff, guys. They're all really talking about lots of mad stuff, but it's basic, practical, tangible, real phenomena. It's all come from this stuff. So we divide it by 16 squared for 7 days a week. And we get the 39.375. Now that's how many inches there are in 1 metre. So
Wow.
we've got the metre there. Professor Tom, I think, and even John Michelle, they've written about this quite a bit, and Melissa and others have written about this 39.375 inches. It's inches, and that's in 1 metre. So we've got the metre there sort of popping up, but in inches. But all you do, when you've got this measure of 39.375, and you're making a ruler, you're going to just rub out the numbers and put in 100 equal dashes, and you've got your metre.
Right.
So it's all, yeah, when you're thinking about practical things, it's not just how you work it out on a calculator. It's
so sorry, just because I'm slow. So that came from 16 squared. That was your generator, was 16 squared.
Yes, and because I'm never departing from that musical scale that you're writing about.
Yeah.
That yeah. So I'm using like pi or tau, 2 pi.
Right.
I'm using the harmonic series. I'm using things that all of mankind, even if you're a 6-year-old learning this stuff, everyone can do it. Everybody understands these basic rules, whether it be circle, whether it be those notes, they're all really accessible. And we've got inches in the you've got inches in 1 metre. So we sort of got the metre coming up there. And then when you just divide the 7 days a week in minutes just by 16, so instead of 16 squared, just divide it by 16, and you get 630. Now that's our magical string length.
Yeah, that's your fret. Yeah, monocorde.
When we times that by tau, let's times that by 6.285, and we get Matthew's Matt from Apocalypse channel. We get where is it? We get the radian. Right, so radians, like that's half the Earth. So 3960 is just half of the Earth's equatorial diameter, 7920.
So what would happen if you just used usual pi there? Would that not double to the right size, or would it half? My brain's not working.
Yeah, I did. I didn't use pi. I used tau. So
yeah, but I'm saying is, if you used pi, would that then double it and give you the correct, or would it half it? My brain's not working right.
Half it, yeah. So
right.
That would just So
you get quarter. Yeah.
Which Matt does use because, like he said, Australia. He laughed about it with the Amish Inquisition boys, where he said, "Oh, Australia wasn't quite big enough." Which is it's and, so yeah, because it went to Montague Island, and that's why how me and Matt met. Is that I contacted him and said Eden is the antipode, which is the direct opposite to the Azores, and Matt's been onto the Azores being the sunken intelligence. So, and then Matt said, because Matt's done this incredible work with all the seventh lines and then the radians, how they all join, and he's done so much stuff. But he was like, I've been looking for a termination point. I think it was Burrabador and all these other sites, and he said there was no termination spot. He couldn't find it. And when I said it was talking about Montague Island, which I can see from Congo, he said that's it. He plugged it in, and he said there it is. It's Montague Island. So he was very excited because he's been working on it for ages. So yeah.
Mad though. I mean, what? Sorry to digress from what we're really talking about, but are the implications of that they went there in the past, in the deep dark past, that they actually got as far as Australia, or it just so happened? Which one do you think it is?
It's hard to know. I lean that way, but I mean, of course, people would say it's ridiculous, but I think so, yeah. And I should just actually throw this in here instead of just numbers all bloody night. The way this all started was mythology, and I was looking into that, but it actually started from the landscape, literally speaking, not in words, not talking to me, but it was I was having this really kind of a relationship and an experience with a certain mountain, which is right west of where I am in Congo. I'm on the 36-degree line south, so 36-degree latitude south. And 36 degrees is this mountain that's literally like that. It's a pyramid. Now, it's a natural mountain, and I've climbed it, and not many really ever have climbed this mountain. Even locals that have lived here for decades have said to me, "Did you get up there?" And I said, "Yeah." They said, "We've tried to get out to that thing. I mean, it's right there. You can see it from town, from the main town of Maruya. It's you can't miss it. Even though it's unmissable, nobody looks at it. It's the weirdest thing. I talk to people all the time. I was talking to a plasterer the other day, and he goes, "Oh, you mean Sugarloaf or Hanging Mountain?" And I said, "It doesn't really have a name, but we kind of call it Sugarloaf." But I said, "It's even in the map. There's no name for it. But it's so pointy, and it's all by himself, and just everyone ignores it. They're just like, oh yeah, but no one cares." So anyway, for months and months and months, to the point where I was saying to the mountain, talking to the mountain, "Would you leave me alone?" Like, yeah, I was like, "Why do I wake up thinking about you? This is getting a bit strange." So it was trying to tell me, I don't know what it was trying to tell me, but in the end, I found out what it was trying to tell me. I decided one day, this is a year or two ago now, this is sort of what started it all. It's all very mystical. I sort of thought, I just had this thought in my head, and it was in Canberra, it's only 2 hours over the mountain range, Canberra, the capital city of Australia, and that's where the Parliament House building is. And I knew a bit about the masons that came out early in the days, the masters of their guild, stonemasons and surveyors and all the masters. And there was one guy called Sir Burley Griffin, Sir Burley Griffin, I think his name is. And he chose the location for the capital city of Australia. And then they planned it and mapped it. And from the air, it's just this massive Masonic praise, the way that the roads all go and all these circles, and it's quite full on. But where they put the Parliament House, so there's a huge flagpole on top of the Parliament House building. It's big. At the time, it was the most expensive Parliament House building ever built in the whole world. And they spent more money on that than they did in Washington, apparently, anyway. So underneath this giant flagpole is a glass pyramid. Like the one you see in is it France, the Louvre or something?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a glass pyramid under the flagpole. And I had this idea: draw a line from Montague Island up to the tip. So from the Montague Island lighthouse, there's a lighthouse out there. So I put a dot on that. I put a dot right on the tip of the pyramid of the and I wanted to just see if that line went straight over my, a very annoying mountain that wouldn't leave me alone. Just the, shits and giggles, really, just to see if it did. Because I knew about what you guys have over there, all those St. Michael's line and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. There's too many.
Yeah, there's so many. Ireland and Scotland, and they're everywhere. And all these sites just got along it. I thought, I wonder if they came to Australia and they started setting up Australia the same. And if we've got these types of things here, because we're very new, obviously, 250, 270 years. So I wanted to see if this line would hit that mountain. And it did. So it went from Montague to the Parliament House apex, and bang, it was a direct hit on Sugarloaf, my very, very, very pointy mountain. So I wasn't looking for what came next though. I was already amazed that the line was hitting that mountain. But I just happened to glance down at the distance, and it was 144 kilometres.
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, okay. All right, so Burley Griffin and all these surveying experts, because I found an 1895 map of Sugarloaf. Somebody in 1895 went up Sugarloaf, a surveyor, and I've got his gazetted thing, and it's got angle that way to that mountain range, and he's got all this stuff on this map. How they got out there at that time? I mean, I took my motorbike on trails and stuff, but he didn't have no trails. He had horses and no trails. It would have been insane to get up there. So anyway, he's got up there, and the Canberra and Parliament, that's where it is, and the lighthouse, and the line hits it, 144 kilometres. Then Stephanie said, you should look for the very centre of the line, the means, the middle of the line, see what's there. So I sort of didn't think much of it, but I thought, oh, yeah, I'll have a look. Well, it happens, there's this hole, and it's called the big hole. That's all it's called. And
The what hole? Sorry?
Just the big hole. That's what
Right,
it's called.
okay.
And it's enormous. So I can send you photos of a guy climbing down this ladder like a climbing dude, and he's tiny. I mean, he looks tiny, and this hole is just enormous. So it's on the very centre of this line as well. So I mean, all of these things are just already kind of there in the landscape, natural things.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I've actually recently been thinking that when the summer solstice happens here on the 21st of December, the sun is down. I'm guessing that it's from home, if you're at home and that line goes over Sugarloaf and out to Monastery, that's where the sun's coming. And then it moves back the other way as you go back to winter, all the way north.
Yeah.
And then it heads back south again. I think that's what that line is that it's perfectly in line with, that.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're always very good at their planning and all these things. So this is kind of where it's all kicked off. The landscape was sort of talking to me, and I just couldn't stop staring at this mountain because it's unbelievably pointy. So I've got my boots on the ground video when I went up there, and at the last sort of 50 feet, 60 feet, it's just all this loose rock. It's just completely rocks about this big, maybe a little bit bigger, but no bigger than this, and millions of them just piled up for the last 50 metres. The rest of it's all like an orange sort of clay as you go up, but at the very top it's this basalt stones. And it looks exactly like what you see at the Azores. The other, you can see those structures at the Azores.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they built these things out there. Matt knows which islands they are. I couldn't tell you, but when I looked at them, I was like, that's the exact same stone, same size. It looks identical to what's at the top of Sugarloaf. Yeah, it's all kind of cool. So that's getting back to your question about, do you think they were coming here? I think so. I mean, Maruya, the town of Maruya, there's Sugarloaf's right nearby this. It's looking at the Maruya River. And the Maruya means resting place of the Black Swan, apparently, Maruya. And it's exactly in the Arabs, the Islamic, they have a Mount Moriah, obviously in Jerusalem, but they spell it Mouya or something like that. And I was like, well, there you go. I mean, this is all kind of pretty connected.
Yeah.
So resting place of the Black Swan. Now, when we look at those old Phoenician, Viking-looking things, ships, they're covered in black pitch. And they've got the big belly, the bellied out sort of.
And a mast, yeah, quite like a swan, yeah. Well, often they had swans on the front.
Yeah. It looks like if you're an Aboriginal, you're going, look at the giant black swan. Because when Captain Cook came up here, there's a guy, Aboriginal fella on my Facebook, and I put up there years ago, and he's talking about when they saw Captain Cook coming up the coast, they said it was a giant pelican. And I think there is something at the top of that mountain. I think, it's just a guess for me, but I think there's something under there. I think there's a big giant black ship under there. Not just for any kind of crazy reason either, because in the Scythians in the Ukraine, there's Royal Kurgan. And if you look up Royal Kurgan, it's my favourite structure. It's more favourite than the pyramids or anything. Royal Kurgan. They thought it was just a hill and a natural hill, and they dug it up, and you should see what's under this hill. It's man-made, and inside it's circular. The stonework is better than anything you've ever seen. It's got a domed roof, the corridor that goes into it. It's got this. You have to, maybe edited in here. It's just absolutely phenomenal. and they found a king in there with gold and the most insane embroidered gold through his clothes, and it's, it's mine. So all of these things I think tie back to Australia. So I don't think Australia was ever really lost. Like no one, they could find Easter Island, but they couldn't find Australia. So Easter Island's tiny, Australia's.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of evidence about that was the case with America, so I don't see why not.
Yeah. Yeah, so we could just do a little bit more of these numbers, but so yeah, actually I'll get into another thing that's just been recent with Saturn, because it all comes back to Saturn. It always comes back to Saturn.
I've had a Saturn week myself from a psychological point of view. I might talk about it later, but let's continue with yours.
Okay, so adding from 1 to 27, right? 1 plus 2 plus 3, all the way to 27. The sum of them is 378. Right, and that's Saturn. And that's just the sum of 1 to 27.
Mm-hmm.
Then a nonagon, right? So a one-sided shape. I showed that in one of my videos only a few months back. The internal angles of a nonagon is 1260 degrees. We times that by 2 pi, and we get 6.285, and we get the 7,920.08, which is quite beautiful.
Even the decimals, one of the harmonics.
Yeah.
Okay. So sorry, could you say that calculation again? So you took
1,260 times 6.285, and instead of it's 6.285714 is 44 over 7. But I just rounded up that last bit. 7,
yeah, you're right.
I just rounded it up to an 8, so 6.2858 instead of 7.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, and it comes out, 7920.108.
Wow.
So that was pretty cool. So 1 to 27 is 378. So if we've got 3 times 9 equals 27, and 3 times a nonagon, so it's the same sort of thing, 3 nonagons equals 3780. So it's like, to me, I'm like, how does Saturn know how to do that? Saturn seems to know arithmetic. He seems to know how to behave himself. It's kind of don't coincidences,
No, there's not. No.
And I was talking to Melissa and Paul the other day, when I was doing this.
Yeah.
For my whole life, I've been doing this. No one does it, I know that. But I've always just looked at it going, look at this thing. What this thing? It still blows me away to this day, and I still wiggle my fingers and still just go on.
Mate, I do the same thing. I'm like, why? I'm like banging it. I'm not the walls, or like, look at my hand, or like, it's weird. This what? Are you not like mystified by existence and entirety? Nobody is. Everyone looks at me like I'm weird, apart from you guys. It's like, what could be more important than figuring out what the fuck's going on?
Like fucking tough crowd, man. Because everyone's like talking about Jesus or Muhammad or something. And the other day you said something about the moon's really weird. You said in one of the posts the other day, how weird's the moon?
The moon is really weird.
Yeah, it's weird. But I didn't interject, but I was going to put in there, like, what about the eyeball? That's fucking weird. The whole everything's
weird. Yeah, everything's weird.
So when Saturn's doing this, 1 to 27, 378, right? And 3 times 9 is 27, 3 nonagons, 3780 degrees. I mean, how does he know how to do that? So when we get back to the flower of life, okay, this is one of my favourites. I just use the rule of 6. I was like, I'll use it like a rule, like a limitation type of thing, right? Let's just go 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6, and we get 21. Cool, no dramas. We times those together, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we get 720. Cool. Yep, no big deal.
Oh, it is. It's 72. That's a big deal. Come on, what are you going to do? 21 times 720. 21.
Then you times them together, and you get half the base of the Great Pyramid. 1512. You know?
Oh my word. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I see how simple all this is, without any square roots, without any whatever's going on there, I love all that stuff, guys, but I don't get it. I can't follow. You know, I really can't. I'm just don't have the brain power. But when you do it like that, and I'm looking at the flower of life, and I'm like, okay, I'm a Denisovan sitting in a cave, and I draw a circle, and it's the first man that ever drew a circle with 2 sticks. You know, what one of these things?
Yeah.
So he got 2 sticks, and he goes, draw the circle. Then he goes around the outside, and he draws the seed of life. I mean, imagine the first man that ever did that. So
Yeah.
this is the blueprint. These are the rules. This is like the creator, or reality's given mankind a bit of a hand. Like, here you go. Yeah, hey guys, just follow this. You can draw a clock out of it, right? You know the clock face.
Mm-hmm.
All this stuff's going to help you navigate the planet, give you the time, everything. You guys aren't alone. You're not lost in space. You're not an accident, come from a monkey, whatever. It's all just, it's a guide for all of us, so we know where we are, what time it is, and how we're getting somewhere. We have to navigate to get somewhere. If the Earth wasn't 7,920 miles, if it wasn't the size that it is, and the time, like 24 hours didn't work, that flower of life there, the seed of life, would just be a pretty picture. It wouldn't help us with time. It wouldn't help us navigate. Wouldn't help us do anything. It'd just be a nice picture, and that'd be it. But it just so happens that does be perfect for a clock, perfect for time, perfect for navigation. Isn't that amazing? It just so happens. So we'll stick to our rule of 6. You're going to love this one. We'll stick with our rule of 6, and we'll go with double. We'll just go 1 plus 2 plus 4 plus 8 plus 16 plus 32. That's 6 steps, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then we add those up, we get 63.
Okay.
So, but we've got 6 steps. We've gone 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps.
Yeah.
And we times that by 6. And we get what? We get Saturn, 378.
Huh.
So why is the Saturn cube in Sydney and Mecca and everywhere? And why is he the cube? Like literally nobody can. This is nowhere on anywhere on the planet except maybe the special archive somewhere. But this is not known by a single man on the planet, and it's simple. Just 6 steps. Do the doubles. Get 63. Times it by 6, and you get the synodic period of Saturn, and the seed of life is the cube. That's how you draw a cube.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, time, Saturn, cube, 378 is synodic period. It's just all so easy. It was never even hard. It wasn't even complicated or convoluted. Just is. Just there it is.
I mean, there is much more about the cube. There's other numbers very associated with the moon. It's 2116 interior angles when you add them up. So there's loads more in there even, but that's great. Yeah, I see what you're saying. So it's like the 6 faces of the cube. You're just counting, basically. Have you tried with the sides and the corners and such things? Have you looked at that?
So we've got 6 sides, we've got 8 corners, and we've got 12, 12 edges.
Mm-hmm.
Right, you times those together, you get our D, 576.
Nice.
And then you square 576, as we said before, and you get that 3317760, which is the distance from the Great Pyramid to the equator.
Fantastic. So it's like a key number, really, that, isn't it? Something that keeps cropping up. Wicked.
Yeah.
I can see that now you've worked with this for long enough that you are able to understand it and communicate it simply because of, you know, you really get it now. You're not just like, oh, what the fuck's this? It's this strange number sequence. Let me put myself back on while I have my little rant. Yeah, so I can see it's coming out much more smoothly. Yeah, wicked. Love it, mate.
Yes, to teach the kids, you know, like the kids can get this. I can teach 10-year-olds this stuff, you know. It's like they go, oh, it's just so accessible, you know. That's what I like about it. Yeah,
it's almost like it's the learning system. Well, you can understand that it is the learning system. It's the remnants of it, and that it's what it is for me, because we've got to decode it in the first place, that it's actually really complicated as long as it's chaotic in your head. That, you know, when you don't know what it is and it's a different system and like, oh, what's going on? But as soon as you understand that system, like there's a, like you said, it's like a childish, playful, counting poetry kind of a thing. Or with my stuff, like the symbology, it's very similar. It's just like, what is it? You know, if it's a wolf, well, what does a wolf do? Then that's the symbol. Do you know what I mean? Wolf's a loner. A wolf goes on the edge of the forest. A wolf, you know, is a pack animal, and you just apply those things. So once you get it, it's simple. Yeah. But because we have no teacher, getting there in the first place is really difficult. Yeah. So kudos, mate. I mean, flipping heck, no one's come up with this. It's so simple, no one's ever come up with it before.
Pretty much, you know, it really is. Like, because it can be taught to the kids and so basic. This is what I think the builders, whether it be in India, the Ajanta caves, or Angkor Wat, or the pyramids, this is the blueprint. It's just that. They didn't need the square root of every bloody number. They just needed that.
I mean, that fruit of life on the right, just thinking about it, if you did, what, 6 factorial? So what, 1 times 2 times 3 times 4 times 5 times 6?
It's 720.
Yeah. So then if you take the 7 in the center, that's 50/40. That's Plato's number. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's half of the week. You know, it's 10,080. It's half of that. So in minutes, that's 7 days minutes. And you have half
a week. Yeah. Well, we know, you can tell that they meant to put it all in. They kind of encoded it into the weeks more than the months, and you know, obviously the months linked to the moon, so it's slightly different measurement system. But they put the weeks in there. I mean, we call them the weeks, but the days of the week in, like, sorry, let me put myself back on while I'm talking nonsense. Oh, he's trying to remove you. There we go. Yeah, so the days, well, that word comes from deity, and in Latin speaking countries it is, oh, Dios mio, my gods, my days. We say, oh, my days in England sometimes. I don't know if you say it over there when I'm trying to be polite and not swear. My days. But that's my gods, because the days are the gods, because time is the gods, and the different times are the different gods. Like, you know, early mornings Jupiter, and middle of the day the sun god, and early evenings like Dionysus, and midnights like Saturn and Capricorn and Pluto, all those gods, you know. It's all to do with time. They're obsessed with time. Yeah, and you're showing us why, and why. Yeah. There are definitely other reasons why Saturn's the time god, but the reasons you're showing is that these are the deepest, most esoteric secrets, fundamentals. It's almost where metaphysics is poking into physics. Not almost, it is that, isn't it? It's this metaphysics of this hyperharmonic number system poking into reality, just kind of sideways. It's very seldom very obvious, apart from when you're saying like 7,920 for the Earth, 864 for the Sun, 216 for the Moon. Then becomes a little more embodied, but most of it's just these tangential rhymes from these mathematics that are somehow feeding into these facts about orbits and distances and all kind. It blows the mind. Again, you seem to have really boiled it down. We're not quite going to formula here, but you're showing how the system works, and it's very. In fact, once you get the system, you're going to have to use your intuition to get this stuff. Would that be true?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, like you just said there, 1 to 7 is 540. But even the number line itself, just 1 to 7 or 1 to 6. I mean, that's how basic this reality is. It's not convoluted. We are living in a very loving place that's not.
It is tricky, though. It is like there's a joke or a. There's this poetry going on, this artistry, but it's almost like a mischievous. There's a mischievous element. There's a trickster element to it as well.
Yeah.
But is that the teacher? Is that Mr. Miyagi getting you to catch a fly with chopsticks or wax on and wax off? You think you're painting a fence, but you're actually leveling up and learning the next skill.
Yeah. I don't know. If you know something well enough, you can explain it simply. And,
yes.
That's just so true. I'm sort of, now that I can explain it to my daughter who's 10, and she gets it that quick, she can add from 1 to 6, she can add from 1 to 7. She can even do the times tables to the 1 to 7. She's,
Well, this stuff makes it fun. It does, because the way we use numbers currently is so dry. And I note you sent me a young fella, the youngest Nobel Prize winner ever, that he's basically cottoned onto this, and it is describing numbers as sets, as like ascending sets that are all linked by these fibers, which is essentially what your and my work has been all this time. Maybe if we looked into it, he's even answered a few questions we've got. I think his is more of a perception. He's like categories.
Yeah, it's like even say 6 times 7 times 8 times 9. Guess what that is? 3,024. That's the base of the Great Pyramid.
Yeah.
So 6, 7 times 8 times 9 is 3,024. And then we divide that by 2 pi, right? 2 pi, squish it in there, and we get 481, which is the height of the pyramid. So we've got the base, we've got the height. It's easy, and you can do it with cubits and all that too. People, out there, like, sorry, Ralph Ellis, I kept picking on you, but you were carrying on a bit. The 176 zero, you just divide that by 2 pi, and you get the whatever height it is in cubits. And or if it's 440 it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter which one you use. You divide the perimeter base by 2 pi, and you get the height, and then automatically, straight away, the slope angle is 51.84, which is a P. It's in the, so again, they're always working together, that quadrivium. They just never depart from each other, But just before I forget, because I always forget stuff when I get off and think, I should have said that. So 378, 3 times 7 times 8, right, which is Saturn, that's 168. And that's how many hours there are in a week.
What?
Yeah, 3 times 7 times 8 is that's how many hours there are. So I mean, Saturn is time.
That's madness.
Yeah. Like that's so simple, isn't it? But like, I ask even astrologers that can tell you everything about astrology. They'll say, why is Saturn time? And they're like, don't know. So,
they don't get the other reason. I'll come back on. That's amazing, by the way. The other reason is that it was a pole god and the center of the hub and all this other stuff. There's many reasons why Saturn is the time god, and other psychological inferrations, inferals from looking at that life force again. I think there's some equation somewhere that maybe it's not even it just came to me that maybe it's not even like a number equation. Maybe there's some like archetypal equation where you're dealing with like fire, plus water times air equals, you know what I mean? The ether. Something like that. I don't know. I need a download myself.
Well, there's no separation. That's what I'm saying. It's when people are off doing their metrology and they're not incorporating the music numbers, then you're off with the fairies, people. I'm going to break it to you. You're fucking tripping because they never depart. If you're off doing all these equations, but you're not incorporating the 144 and that whole
canon,
that graph of the harmonic numbers, you're off sort of doing your own thing over here, and you're leaving that over there, and they're not separate. They're always together.
Yeah.
I just remembered another one, the 10,080 minutes, and that's G, and it's G7. It's the seventh G.
And G is the seventh letter in the alphabet.
Yeah, and this seventh G is 192, right? That's the seventh G. So we divide the 7 days a week of minutes, and we divide it by the G7, and we get the royal bloody cubit, or royal rod, right? 52.5, right? So, and then we'll watch this, right? Times that by 3, the royal rod by 3, and you get 157.5. Well, that's where Saturn is on the 24th thread, right? Let's times it by 6. Remember Tesla said 3, 6, and 9? Let's times it by 6. We get 315. 315 is the very center of the string, which is the octave. That's the 12th fret. So, E, dum, dum. So, boom.
Right? But I mean, going back to this equation, the analogy that Pythagoras is using, whatever, I mean, there was a Pythagoras, but, wherever all these informations come from, he's using that monochord. That's his analogy. He's using the tetractys as the notes, 3 to 4, for the ratios between the notes and all that stuff. And then he's using though you never see a monochord, there's no ancient Greek drawings of that monochord that come from that Pythagorean school, but other people do draw that monochord, like in later books and things. Yeah. And there's always a hint of alchemy about it. Those kind of sun, moon symbols, which are essentially yin and yang and positive, negative, and expanding, contracting, these ideas of polarity that come with these numbers, that you double, you get another number, you half it, you get another number, but they're all these same number canon, and at some point they'll repeat a sequence and these kind of things. So I personally think that what you've done is crack that code. I think that you've essentially, I think there's more work to be done. I don't know where that comes from, but just some kind of digestion in back into that monochord as a diagram, so you can explain it with a monochord or something like that. But I think you've got there, mate. Yeah, especially because you've got all these synodic orbits in there with the planets, and the planets are clearly the 7 notes. Yeah.
I mean, the jobs have got to come off a little bit at the moment, and I think, like you said, a year or two ago, we've got to put our big boy pants on. So, I'm going to start calling out names like Robert Grant or Randall Carlson or whatever. You guys sort of pull your heads in, because this stuff is not arbitrary. This is like a monochord. It's a real thing. It's a guitar. Yeah. It's a physical object that we can't do anything about. The frets have to go where they are. Even if you've got a little ukulele or whatever you've got, it doesn't matter. You're governed when you move your finger up, like where it has to be placed, or it's sharp or it's flat. You have to put it right where it needs to be. And it just so happens, fellas, that when we put these frets exactly where they go, and we measure, we've got Moon, Mars, Saturn, Jupiter. It's all there. So when everyone's going to have it, because they've had a go at me, mate. They've been commenting and getting back and haven't been quite rude. So I've got to say, it's like, guys, I didn't do it. It wasn't me. It was there. And so what can we say about it, What I've got to say this as well before I go, because it's just too important to forget, is that the 24th fret where Saturn is, and he's at 157.5 from the bridge, and that 472.5 from the nut. Well, a 16 sided shape the internal angles are 157.5 degrees. So all I did was I divided 150, that's a 16 Don, right? 16 Don, the internal angle, 16 Don. 16 Don, and the internal angle is 157.5. And because this year is 24th fret, well, I went, okay, then let's divide 16 into 472.5. And you know what we get? We get the moon 29.531, which is literally exactly like to the third decimal place perfection of what it is. It's 29.531.
So what's Saturn exactly synodic?
Okay.
How many years is Saturn synodic?
378 days. And what is that cycle? 29.5 something years.
378, 380 days.
1 days for the moon. So we already knew that. Everyone knows that about Saturn and
the moon, yeah.
But that's because the numbers match. You know, that's in years, and the other the moon's in days.
Yeah.
This is even better because we've got the notes. We're playing E up on the 24th fret, the second octave. Dun, dun, dun. And we know a 16 gone because he's sitting at 157.5. We know that's a 16 gone. We put it into the other number there, and we get boom. We get the moon. I mean, I don't know what to say. It's just there. It is. It pops out on its own, and it's I've just sort of been going.
Could you do me a little favor in the next few days?
Yeah.
Would you look at a 14-sided shape, a decatetragon, something like that? I think it's called.
I think it's 148 point something degrees. I have got them written down. Yeah, I did a whole bunch.
Would you just do me a little investigation into that 14-sided shape? Because obviously that pattern of mine is in it. Yeah. I know that if you multiply them, it's 50-40. If you multiply at 360 by the 14, it's 50-40. If you divided it, it was a really interesting number. I don't remember if you could do me a little, just that tiny favor.
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you.
Can I do one more?
Yeah, of course you can.
And real quick too. So I said this to Melissa the other day because I did have a comment a while back on my channel because I was using millimeters because I was talking about a guitar and something you can play. And someone said, mate, you're tripping it. You're doing millimeters and you're talking about the base of the Great Pyramid, which is in feet. They're not the same thing. So, you're way off. And he had a point, but you can make a guitar string length, which would be ridiculous. I mean, none of us would ever do this too long, but the premise stays the same. 630 feet. Let's make a guitar that big, right? 630 feet. When you set the frets at 600, it's going to be exactly the same. Just so people know that the frets are still going to be 35.4 feet for the first fret and 68.7 feet for the second fret, right, from the nut. So it still works out no matter what you do.
There's some real comedy there that you're going, mate, look at this. You got this giant guitar fret. It's the fucking same.
We've all been online for about 30 years, right? We've all been online, and we're just we're so cheeky with each other, because we're so comfortable behind a screen. But if someone was sitting around the table here with me, we wouldn't talk to each other like this. We'd be kind of a bit more pleasant, kind of a bit more, I don't know, just courteous and whatever. But because we're online, we're like, you're an idiot, and it's like. So I have to kind of, do those little caveats. Is that what they call them? You just sort of okay, you guys are throwing that at me, so I'm going to have to say, well, you had a good point. But we can still make the guitar string 630 light years, 630 miles. It all still works out the same, the numbers still work. So this very last one is the fretboard here. We've got the perimeter base of the Great Pyramid. And if you divide the width, so we haven't even talked about width, but we won't go into all the widths, but every width of the frets, 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 24, when you divide the width of every fret into the perimeter base of the Great Pyramid, you get the corresponding note. So I'll just do two. For examples, we'll do the D note. D is played on the 10th fret and on the 22nd fret. That's where D is played. The 10th fret, it is 21 millimeters wide. Right, the 10th fret is 21 millimeters of width. That's how wide it is. And the 22nd fret is 10.5 millimeters. Right? So we divide 21 into 3024 and we get 144. That's exactly the note that's played on the 10th bloody fret.
Wow.
Yeah, but every single fret does it. Like, what the fuck? Come on, we've got to win, people. This is a win for the whole planet, baby.
Somebody must have spoken about this stuff before, though. There's so many guitar players. It's madness.
Bro, this is hectic, bro. Then we go to the 22nd fret. It's 10.5 millimeters wide. We divide it into the perimeter base and we get 288. It's exactly the frequency note of the 24th fret. Oh, sorry, the 22nd. Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that insane? Like, we've got, seriously, there's so many slam dunks that it's like, if you want to argue, you're not arguing with me anymore. You're arguing with
Mate, no, like, as far as I'm concerned, so here's the thing.
Yeah.
So this is an ancient science from at least the Stone Age kind of thing, which, by the way, everybody, was probably the Wood Age, the more I think about it. You know what I mean? People build out of wood and then it goes. No one's building out of stone. Very few people.
Yeah.
Oh, on that, actually, as a digression on digression.
Yeah.
The one thing that we are missing, I think. So I'll tell you what, let me digress and just say I think we've gotten this science down. You know, it proves itself from what you've done, what Melissa does. Matt's work's a little more concrete. We're kind of dealing more with the actual physics of it. We've got it. We've got it. Not only is it miraculous, it explains, you know, the meter and the inch and the metrics from your work, does other things with my work. We've got it. We've got it down. It was there. It must be there because we found it there. And it's up there as well. That's the crazy thing about it. So I've got no doubt about that. I think the one thing that we're missing, apart from this, you know, E equals MC squared type formula that I keep going on about, which I'm starting to think after talking to you now might actually be the metaphor of the monochord. It might be that. That might be the formula. It's just not a formula as we'd expect it in a nice little algebraic notation. But I think the one thing that we're missing is why they wanted to move these big blocks. Are you still there? I think you might have gone. You got bored of me speaking. So I say to you guys, why they moved these big blocks, why they wanted to move these big blocks, and how they moved the big blocks. They clearly had an easy method. There's no... Let me check if he's back. No, he's gone.
Wait.
He's back. So I was saying,
back.
It's these big blocks, mate. These big stone blocks of various crystalline granites and such that they're clearly taken from specific quarries. And, you know, it's like they've got... I think they're moving the big blocks because they can move the big blocks, if you get me. There's no other... Apart from to resist time, you know, which is part of the symbology of a stone, that it resists time. But I think there's, you know, we're dealing with sound. We're dealing with crystals in those rocks. We're dealing with something to do with the cosmos. There's no reason to move those blocks unless they've got a methodology for moving those blocks.
Yeah.
Do you think there's some possibility that this work that we are doing somewhere down the road will unlock how they moved the effing blocks?
Absolutely. I think, we're at the kindergarten stage, and I think that's I thought about this today, is that where a lot of us, like even the greats, like all the names that have got big channels, and we know all these, the big guys, we're kind of all trying to like go straight to the last year of university and like, figure it all out. But, that's why I've come right back to the flower, I'm like to the seed. I'm like, I'm just going to start back in kindergarten because sort of, we want our PhD without doing the work or something, without doing the kindergarten part, I'm sort of a bit impatient or something. But yeah, this really makes it easy for it's entry level and everyone can do this stuff so easily. Just with, the 1 to 27s, 378 and 3 times 7 times 8 is how many hours in a week and all that. Like it's real simple, easy. And then I love that you just said that about the granite because Maruya, where where this bloody Sugarloaf, Pointy Mountain, all the stuff I spoke about before, Maruya is called Granite Town because they took the granite from Maruya, which is 400 kilometres from Sydney, and it was all on ships back in the 1800s, and there's photos and stuff in Maruya and a historic building and all that you can do a tour. And the stone, this was actually figured out by another woman in Australia, and I was like, this is mind-blowing. They've done it in a couple of places in Australia, and apparently they've done it all around the world. They like to take, listen to this, they love to take stone that's been sitting in water, especially salt water, right?
Right.
And what they do is every time they've it's granite, pink granite, any color granite, but granite that's been sitting in salt water for thousands of years, and they go, we're going to that place, we're quarrying that stone, and we're using it for the harbour bridge. So the Maruya is famous for the harbour bridge granite, and they took it from this quarry that's right on the riverbank, and it's in the water, and that's where they took it. And then when they were finished with this quarry, they shut it, and they've never taken another piece from it again. And then they did that in South Australia, where they took granite that was sitting in water for thousands of years, and then they closed it, and they've never taken another piece from there again. But it seems like there's something in that as well. So anyone that's out there listening, like, I don't know what that means, but apparently that's really important because they keep doing it all the
time. Have you heard any of the myths about moving the stones?
Not really, no. But I really still do. I mean, I know that what's his name? That funny guy. He made jokes about using sound. He does the blackface in that movie, the funny movie where they shoot and everything. And what's it called? Robert Downey Jr. Where he says,
"Oh God, mate, I saw that the other day." He's playing about with his mate in the bath.
Yeah, he's like, well, yeah, exactly. Where we're moving.
Whoa, that's madness. Because that's what I was thinking. I wasn't thinking about that.
Yeah.
But that's what I was thinking about. They were throwing blankets over the stones and chucking like a sandy dust over it and blowing horns to it. That's what I've heard. I've heard something similar in Egypt and something about Tibet as well. That the guy actually saw it happen.
Yes. I read that as well years ago, 10 years ago.
Yeah, years and years ago. Yeah.
And they were in semicircles. There was like a semicircle of like 10 or 50 people, and then 100 people, then, all in rows in this semicircle. And they had drums and horns and all sorts of stuff. And he said he saw the block go up this cliff face and then into its spot.
Yeah.
And I was like, it sounds pretty crazy, and I'd love to see it. But yeah, I think because it's not a crazy thing to think about really at the end of the day, because when you walk across a bridge, when soldiers march across a bridge, they have to walk out of step. Because if they in lockstep, they just shatter the whole bridge.
Yeah.
You can shatter anything. You can disturb the molecules in something.
This is Tesla, isn't it? Tesla and his it was like a resonance. It was just a hammer, but with that hammer, he found the resonance of the building that he was in, and the building started shaking, and
Yep.
And that's what it is. You find its resonant frequency, and it's not that it's destructive; it's actually kind of constructive because you're going with the note of the place that you are. It's just that will move it and destroy it because structures are fragile.
I think we could figure out, okay, we've got a block that's this long by that high by whatever, and you can work out its resonant frequency.
But why would that cancel gravity? That would just break it, surely.
That's fine. I'm a landscaper as well these days, and we've always used a thing called a whacker packer. Have you heard of a whacker packer?
No, but it does sound. It sounds either very American or Australian.
Yeah. So I'll sort of draw it here. It's like, it's got a big plate and it's made out of steel. And I'm telling you, man, you need two blokes on either side of it. It's not real big. It's about sort of a meter, not even a meter, 700 millimeters by 400. Anyway, you can't. There's an engine sitting on top of it, like a little petrol engine, and you pull the cord and it starts to just like it's only slight. It just goes like that, right? Now, two blokes lifting it, it's bloody hard to lift with two guys, right? But what you do, you can use one finger, and as soon as it starts, it's only vibrating a little bit, right? And you just push it, and you can go uphill. I'm talking like that, and you just push it with one finger. You're not even like you're not going like that with your body weight. It's just moving by itself, baby. So I've always sort of noticed that, like, mate, this thing weighs a ton trying to get it on the back of the ute. And but as soon as you turn that on, and it's just a little bit of vibration, you can go up hills with it. So I don't think it's, because of things like that that I do every day, that's kind of a bit of a clue, I reckon. And I think it's very, very possible. I mean, tuning fork or something, some big bit of steel, you just go,
I'm thinking because it's full of silicate crystals, because it's granite, that maybe there's like some piezo electricity thing going on as they're, expanding and contracting, and across a crystal you get a difference in charge, so then the electricity jumps and things happen. So maybe it's something to do with that. People keep going on about plasma, Malcolm Bendel's engine and stuff like that. So, and the whole Saturn thing, because of I forget what the guy's called. I can't stand the book personally, even though it was one of the first books I read on all this stuff. Velikovsky, he's talking about Velikovsky's Saturn hypothesis, where Saturn and the Purple Dawn, and what's his name?
Is it the Electric Universe guy?
He's one of them. I think he got attached to them. I don't think he was the originator.
Yeah.
But yeah, one of them guys. But I don't agree with that stuff. But it's all plasma. They keep going about plasma seems bound up in this somehow. I've got to say, when I've looked into all the life force stuff in all the secret religious traditions, you can quite easily work all that stuff down to your force field around your body, your toroidal force field, and kind of getting rid of the knots in that. You are making sure that the energy in that is smooth and there's no little toroids in that bigger toroid. You kind of, that's what yoga is, and you're stretching and getting rid of all the knots in your body. Well, those knots in your body might have knots in the field, and you get rid of the knots in your personality. And you get me?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that could be reduced to like a plasma field around the outside of your body. I don't know. I'm scrabbling around in the dark as I think we're all coming to something of a conclusion, as you said, of this kind of kindergarten stage of learning all this stuff.
Yeah.
How do we know is the next phase after we've written it up and published it and got it out there a little bit? What can we start making with it? That's the question. Can we lift these goddamn rocks? That would be cool.
That's the next step. I don't think it's complicated. Like even this.
No, I don't.
I really don't think it's difficult. Like it's obvious that they didn't find this difficult, because how would you go to? You don't have to use 150-ton block. There's some that are 570 tons. And then the ones that the one that Matt talks about, that needle, that's still in the ground, that huge bloody obelisk. That was never cut out. Now, I think he's right about that anyway. It was never meant to come out of the ground, that one. We talked about that with the Amish Inquisition guys, where that needle, that the obelisk, it was never cut out of the bedrock. It's pointing at 12 or 15 different sites. It's a marker, And was meant to stay there. But some of these things are just hundreds of tons. It really wasn't a difficult task if you could move so many of them. You wouldn't even need to, would you? You could still use 100-ton and no one's going to move it. We can still barely move them today. So, what was.
I mean, there are actually. Oh, I have seen that there are actually primitive megalithic cultures still knocking around that still move big blocks, and they were using rollers. It was some like I'm going to say Papua New Guinea, somewhere like that, somewhere weird. Somewhere like South, was it Java? I don't know. Somewhere where the little tanned people, because they live in the sun, you know what I mean? And it's tropical. But they were moving these megalithic stones by the method that you've seen on documentaries and stuff, where it's rollers and there's a lot of them plenty. But they weren't that big. They weren't very big stones.
Yeah, like the Assyrian. Is it the Assyrian? And I mean, those things. It's beautiful.
Well, is it Baal, the Temple of Baal or whatever, or is it Baalbek or whatever they call it?
Baalbek, yeah, that one with the trilogy. Yeah, that's stones.
Yeah, that's like they're disgustingly big, and like they say, the big stones at the bottom.
Yeah, that's what it's about 5 courses up, the Trilithon one, and that's like 1,500 ton or something. It's over 1,000 tons, that one.
Like impossible size at that size, yeah.
Yeah,
But well, you know, you'd have to have some real motivation to do that, or some technology that we're just scratching around for.
Yeah, again, I don't think it was difficult for him. It obviously was quite easy. Otherwise, you just wouldn't be. You wouldn't need 1,000 tons. 500's impressive enough, isn't it? Why 1,000 tons? Why so important to use 1,000? You know, it wasn't difficult. But sound is everything. Like we said about the bridge, like I said about that vibrator machine. You just push it with one. It moves by itself. In fact, when you let go of the handle, it actually just keeps moving. Like these things are really heavy. Man. 2 blokes on the either end can barely lift it, and it's just moving by itself.
Is that a gyroscope effect though? Like, because gyroscopes you can take, because it's constantly flinging itself outwards, you can kind of move them quite gracefully. Because the fighting gravity at some point. Oh,
you know, you've just got a little petrol engine. You pull the cord. You know, it just starts. You know, it's only very. Like when you're holding the handle, it's just this tiny bit of vibration, but it's moving all by itself uphill.
It would be nice if there was some actual prominent myths as a clue, but you know, even the symbology of the stone was no pun intended, difficult to penetrate. Just because it's like, you know, the philosopher's stone and the stone where Jacob laid his head before he saw the ladder. There's so many, you know, Saturn eats a stone that is supposed to be Jupiter. He wants to eat Jupiter.
Yeah.
But his wife feeds him a stone. And it's like, they're very impenetrable. It's something to do with time, definitely, because again, stones resist time or are seen as timeless. They're immortal.
Yeah.
So it's something there, but yeah. A myth will pop up, hopefully, that we can decode a little and get at least a clue about it. We just need a lead.
I reckon the younger generation are going to crack it. You know, I think they're going to just open the door for like, hey guys, everything's bloody vibration. All this musical notes and all the seed of life and all this stuff is the, you know, is the year 1, year 2, year 3 grade level stuff. And then you move up to, you know, the great mysteries of, you know, let's move these 1,000-ton blocks. I think we're not far away.
No. I think it's going to be that Robert Downey Jr. thing, you know, with something tells me about the dust on the what is that dust? Is that like monoatomic gold or something like that? That's supposed to have anti-gravity properties. But again, it just seems like a modern mythology. No one ever says, look, here's monoatomic gold weighing less or disappearing or any of these other things that it's supposed to have about it.
Yeah, I always just sort of, these days I'm getting a bit sort of cynical with all that sort of stuff, or just a bit kind of like, you know, it's sort of so woo-woo. And I'm, you know, I've been into crazy woo and sort of, but I'm just a bit over it now. You know? It's simple stuff. I didn't think of this fretboard thing. Once I found all this simple stuff, 1 to 27, 378, it's also child's play. These guys weren't doing things that were convoluted and complicated. I just think forgive my language, people, but it wasn't a dick measuring contest. no one was popping their egos up. Like the pyramids weren't built with egos. I'm thinking these people were uh, some of the most. We can't even imagine how humble these guys are. Like the motivation, like you said before, the inspiration and the motivation to build the Great Pyramid and all the other thousands of structures. You don't build that with hate and ego, and these things are clearly they're thinking about their future descendants in the future. Descendants in the future. They loved us so much 5,000 years ago that they wanted to preserve it. If there's an earthquake, an asteroid, a tidal wave, this thing should be here, or at least some of them should survive.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the myths themselves are about the passing on. A lot of the initial myths are about a passing on of this information. They had this information for civilization. Yeah.
It's a selfless act. It's clearly to me a selfless act, and that's the other thing too. I'll say before we go because it's late now. It's going to be 2 o'clock in the morning nearly. Yeah, it's what was I going to say? Forget about that. I've forgotten now.
Well, I was going to add to what I was saying about these guys that were coming teaching civilization. They were always sent by Saturn every time. They're always linked to Saturn.
Every culture, yeah. It's weird, isn't it? Every continent, they're all into Saturn and Jupiter. But yeah, the Great Conjunction, that's to me, if you go back to every single time that Saturn and Jupiter do their conjunction, every single time. Okay, 2001, what happened? Twin Towers come in. What happened then? Saturn and Jupiter. 1941, what happened? World War what? Saturn and Jupiter conjunction. Every time you go all the way back, Saturn and Jupiter conjunction is the Great Conjunction. Seems like.
Question is though, is that societal engineering or is that fate interceding? These people at the top know all this stuff. We're not saying they're smart about it. They're still a bunch of bastards, but they know about it and they're following it. And they'll have experts, even though they don't all know it individually. They have experts in this stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, go and look up. I've been saying it for years.
Yeah.
But anybody out there, obviously, all these Epstein files have just been released. One thing, people don't seem to ever dig deep enough into all this stuff. Go and look up the cult of Baal and see if Baal appears in those Epstein files. And then you might understand something more about the world.
Well, now that they're onto it, right? There's the Star of David or the Star of Remphan or whatever you want to call it. You have mentioned this before with you once before, but look, Saturn and Jupiter, right? If they conjunct over here, right? This is what they do in the sky above our heads. So take it or leave it. Again, sorry, Ralph Ellis, but you said to me the other day that it was that the Great Pyramids were giant penises. That's what you said they were, and I said, there's a great conjunction that goes, say, in Gemini, and then they happen every 20 years. Then 10 years later, you get the opposition down there. This is the shape that it makes in the sky, and it's called a trigon. They're trigons, and Johannes Kepler, he was the one that sort of popularised all that, but it was known before Johannes Kepler. And that's exactly what has been noticed and recorded for eons, is that they do this their conjunction cycle. It goes from the zodiac better than me, but it'll go from here and then over to Sagittarius because it sits straight across, and then it'll go down to whatever it is down here, and back up to here. This is literally what they're doing in the zodiac. So it's sort of, we can observe these things over, and you need long periods of time. You need to be at the actual sites themselves for a long period of time. You can't. It's best to not be moving around. You want to be. So you go. What's it called? Go Beckley Tepe. That to me is an observatory. They're there, and a school. I'd imagine too, with apprentices coming up through the ranks, learning. With those stones all lined up. You've got the Easter, the solstices and the equinoxes, but you've got the planetary cycles. And how they knew in Mesopotamia and Babylon, Saturn was 378. They knew that Jupiter was 399. They knew that they knew all this stuff way back then. So it was clearly known before Babylon, before Mesopotamia. They already knew.
Yeah.
This is so old. And yet you've got to be the watchers, when you hear about the watchers, that's what I think they were watching it. They were looking at that.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Like when I've been looking into the, you keep hearing about the giants, the Nephilim, and all these other things that people have to have silly conspiracy theories about.
Yeah.
But then when you look at those myths, what they are, those myths tend to be repetitions of previous myths, just with the names changed a bit. And then you're like, well, those giants, those Nephilim, are the Titans in Greece. It's the old gods.
Yes.
And what are the old gods? First of all, they are kind of the things at the back of physics. They're like, it requires time to exist and space to exist, i.e. Saturn, a Titan, to exist before you can have things like fate and the weather and events, which is Jupiter's realm. So these things are ultimately discoverable, is what I want to say about that. And you just need to compare and contrast these things. And what seems very mysterious, we can usually bring back to either an archetype, some mathematical use, geometrical use, or just a physics, a fact of life, time, space. They are facts of life.
Yeah.
Right, I want to wind this up, bud. We've been at it an hour and 40 minutes now, and I need to eat.
Just I wanted to bring it back to that basic sort of stuff for the kids, really, so everyone can understand this stuff. It's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And play with it, and as I think the place where we are now, we have to play with it and do the rhyming and the poetry and the intuitive part of it. Maybe there is an equation out there. Maybe it is that monochord. Maybe it's not.
Oh, there's no doubt. No, I'm not mucking around anymore. Gloves are off. It's 500 slam dunks without, with a 5-year 5 IQ. It's just slam dunk, slam dunk, slam dunk.
Yeah.
I'll just quickly do one more. It's only easy. It's like, 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, and we got 63. We times that by the 6 steps, we get 378. We do the 1 + 2 + 3 to 6, add 20. That's Jupiter. So we've got Saturn and Jupiter just from the first 6 numbers. I mean, you've got to be joking.
It is so simple, and it makes sense, and not makes sense. You can see a system there. It does make sense, but you get what I mean. We don't actually understand really why it's working. Not really.
It's rediscoverable. If we get wiped out tomorrow and there's a pocket of people left and they've got to repopulate the earth.
Yeah, this will be that. Yeah.
And you don't even, like they always say that they never met each other. The people in Angkor Wat didn't meet the Egyptians. They were all totally separate. Well, okay, even if they were, everybody can do that, draw the flower of life, the seed of life. Everybody can add from 1 to 6 and do 1 + 2 + 4 +, everyone doesn't matter if they never met. It's rediscoverable.
Well,
over and over and over again.
As well, there's clearly a system that they're using, or fragments of the same system. Different people have different tastes of uses for this system. But again, the tales are that there were people, they say, like dressed head to toe with fish scales and stuff like this kind of Oanese figure, was showing up and teaching people this stuff. So, and it's there in Australia too. The Aboriginals talk about similar things. They talk about it in South America. They talk about it in, Finland. I don't know about Finland, but fish in Finland, it seemed like a good bet.
It was the bloody Irish thing. It was the fucking ridiculous. I'm not joking. Look, I'll be long dead before everyone bloody agrees with that, but it seems to have been that those Phoenician, even Scythian, the steppe people, they were the ones that were doing the cattle. They were the agrarian. They were doing milk and meat and all that stuff before everyone else. This is known even in archaeology. Even they're saying, yeah, that's true. That even because of the gut enzymes and stuff, they digest the milk.
Yeah.
And so, of course, they had leisure time, and they had, they could look at the star, they could do all that stuff.
Oh, mate, and they were doing all kinds of crazy substances as well, like lots. And they're the first people to cultivate cannabis, for example.
Yeah, and it's really got nothing to do with like, oh, we were first, and aren't we? It's not a big measuring contest. It's not about who was the smartest people in the world. They went around the whole world and taught everyone, and everyone learned. It doesn't take brains or anything. It's just kind of, if you had more time on your hands and you were sedentary a bit more, because you figured out this kind of, we can stay in one place and raise cattle and drink the milk. That's pretty much all it was. It's the first people that were drinking milk, and
Well, and all these civilizations are around Göbekli Tepe, which seems to be something of a teaching center or like a party place or something. It's something like that. Bit of a mix, maybe.
Totally, yeah. I mean, again, it doesn't matter the color of the skin or anything. It's just kind of these people that were first drinking milk, and even like the Aboriginals still can't really digest milk, and especially alcohol. But, things like that are just kind of sort of the clues that give it away a bit, just those physical.
Well, I mean, the amount of, we're going to talk about colour because it does come into it. Gingers. It seems to be, a lot of these folks were gingers.
Yep. I mean, even Muhammad and even the Buddha, they say blue eyes.
Blue eyes, red hair, yeah. And if you look at early depictions, I think there might be some myth to that though as well. That might be symbolic to some extent. I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
It still is like the 0.17% of the planet. I mean, people go on about minority groups. But,
I know gingers, yeah. I mean, I was in my 30s before I even believed in gingers. I just thought they were made up, I thought it's just something you saw on TV. I've, by the way, everybody out there, I've narrowly gotten away with being a ginger. I've certainly got a red beard, and the old down below, plus like half my family's blooming ginger.
Yeah, a lot of dark hair guys have the ginger beards, especially like these kind of guys. They've got like real dark hair with reddish kind of beards. Yeah,
it's very attractive.
Well, I don't know about that. The ladies don't.
No, I think the thing with gingers is, look, I like a ginger. Like, I nearly married a ginger. I think what it is that there are two types, certainly the way I see it. And it's like either you're not getting away with it or you look fantastic with it. That's how ginger works, It's either like, oh God, it's downgraded you, or you are so much more beautiful than you would be if you were any other color. The pale skin, the shocking red hair, the fiery disposition.
Yeah. I've been guilty myself and sort of seen lots of redheads, especially in Australia, and going, God damn, you ugly redhead. It's very shallow, but I mean, some of the redheads are really quite.
Well, that is what happens because it's kind of extreme features, really. With the paleness of the skin, you can get really freckly. These things happen. Anyway, mate, let's wind it up.
No,
so, have you got anything coming up?
No, not really. Actually, I'm on this Sunday, actually, with Old World Florida. So with Dr. Longo, Old World Florida. I'm on there with him and Merlin. Merlin, the astrologer guy that I've put on the channel a couple of times on just in my post spot, He's done some great stuff. He did a good one on Saturn. Saturn always does a retrograde by 7 degrees. It's always 7 degrees. He retrogrades 7.
What?
Yeah.
Did not know that.
Yep. So yeah,
cool.
So on Sunday with those guys. It might be Monday in Australia.
Well, drop a link in the Discord if you don't mind, so I can have a look at that. Yeah, I've never heard of them.
And Melissa's putting out one that we did a couple of days ago. We pre-recorded it. So yeah, it's coming out.
Okay, that's everybody. That's Melissa Campbell at Mercurial Pathways.
Yep.
I've got nothing. Although I think Melissa wants to do one with me, you, Matt, or some people. I think she wants a little panel kind of a thing going on. We'll see about that.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah. I've got nothing coming up. I'm still doing drawings from a blooming book. It's killing me almost by the time goes into it. I've got 98 left to do of the small drawings. That's it. So only about another year. No, I'm getting a few done a day, so it's just a matter of time.